just thinking, I'm so
The ones
glad
that
I
aren't
don't have to
working.
do that.
You're still okay.
There's my boys.
Hey, there's a baby. What's their sleep schedule
Texting
like?
is screening.
Terrible.
Wow.
Every 3 hours.
Read iPod.
What can you do?
My boys.
Oh, they're baby.
Now, I think it's just like, you probably need to defer it, just a flush.
So precious.
Talk. I knew as soon as I said that.
Do all those
I don't
things.
know
That's
why.
all I think about. Stick a pacifier in
Make sure-
1,000 times a day.
Could be-
They're never sealed. She counted it first when they were in the. Yeah,
Like zeros, twos, fours, six, or eights. You're like, me too.
but they got it. Well, they got it in the first 6 weeks. But they had to have other things. Yeah. They have other stuff. Big now. Dad's almost other two almost 8.
Wow.
Chunks.
It's windy out there.
It is.
Anyone else saw that?
Oh,
Down one.
and they just left. I knew they were going to die.
Just hold up. Like, if you could just get me off to church. Just that. Yeah, yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
So the drop.
Not in Houston.
It could be worse.
Jed,
I was like-
Alan.
And like, could be
There you
worse. Could be him right. Work layover. And I was like, I'd rather be from my kids. In the airport.
Even
And
in
like,
life.
he thought he couldn't get home.
Yeah.
And around a lot of people, it's just not a connection. Just get in the car by yourself. Just go. Let's go. That's what they did. I love it. What did you call the day? This one?
This is, you like a Paw Patrol jet or something? Peter was like, bring it. I'm like, it's loud. No, it's not. So if you did this in church and then you hear crying, it's because we took it from Peter.
Just keep on.
Yeah. But we didn't want one of those co-writer line experiences. We were used to go inside them. So I'm like, sure, I'll bring it. Kick that problem down the road. Yeah. Stepped outside and I was like, no, I'm just gonna get like in the 70s again. Like, it's gonna be freezing for a couple days, and then like,
Really?
this is
My mom.
Okay.
I was like,
Yeah.
how did you feel?
Good morning.
I don't know.
You gotta.
Oh,
I'm sure they're all right. I just didn't want to start any drama.
You don't know somebody.
I know Jacob Daddy's texting me sometimes.
Yeah.
It could be.
yeah, we did that.
Please don't put it
Yeah, we did
in.
that. Because,
Those
First
can't
of all,
get
he's a
out.
terrible text.
Yeah.
So there's no telling how it'll be spelled. So please don't.
always had to when I've ever tried to use my computer or like phone to like do class or presentation. I'm like, I don't know what I would
last at
accidentally pull out.
Well, we went to Kiwi's. What'd y'all do?
Felt like we were the last ones there. I mean, it was hard getting on, just. And then,
Girl, was it Courtney, Zoe, and KB?
yes. And then, I never met Sebastian. I guess he was 1 of 5.
Wow.
And yeah, I had no clue. So, like, I was like, I'll take the boys to the playground if y'all will come reinforce me. So we just left him out there. Like he's back. He can still stars. Or dad. Like,
Oh, I didn't realize that either. Are they all at
no, one is, one's in residency. Like, I think they have a wide range.
Yeah.
And then I think 2 are at USJ. They just kind of
No, we were doing it. I did just.
I dropped off all night.
Last night, but nobody did.
Harry,
I don't know, but I am.
I'm Danny.
Eric?
Nice to meet you. Y'all live here in Jackson?
Yeah. Just got married a month ago. We're at church.
Okay.
Y'all do videos.
I've been to Second Crosswinds
Yeah.
certified.
Uh-huh.
Half of mine are here, like,
Okay.
plenty of
And then
telephone on
he
Tuesday.
is-
And then you hear Stacey has been it's a grizzly bear in the
We're
pool.
looking for a church home.
Okay. But you have children?
Yes, so Liam is 5, and Lola is, and he's been there for his previous.
Yes, we did.
Where's home for you originally?
Well, no,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Vincent, yeah.
Jackson.
Oh,
Jackson,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was up in Fort Dix over there.
Okay.
Near 412.
Yeah, yeah.
Off Old Bills Highway.
Yeah.
Moved around a little bit, went to the south side.
It is so different than you
Yeah.
North side a little bit.
Let me show you, in this,
You can have sit chest.
this is a parenting class that we've been doing. A really good thing about to like build different habits you can have in your household. This is the study guide that goes with it. We're going to watch one of the videos, but you can have access to one of the videos here.
That's great, okay.
But it's really
Thank
about,
you.
it's really kind of about, well, in Deuteronomy 6, where Moses said, talk about them, impress these truths on your children, and talk about them when you walk along the road, when you sit down, when you wake up. And so we're talking about like bedtime and mealtime, and today's about screen time, which is not in Deuteronomy 6. Pretty big deal. So, yeah. No. We've got a really good children's ministry, bunch of kids. Megan and I.
I noticed that school age was really good.
Yeah.
We dropped a 3-year-old, and she's going to like,
Yes,
oh, man,
but I
they
think that they'll probably be more.
Yeah.
Our age, but-
Yeah. Yeah. We're not the most on time. I was like, this class, everybody in this class are dropping their kids off coming.
Right.
I think some people think
It's
10
an
o'clock
impact.
or 9 o'clock they leave their home.
I was like, oh, you made the connection.
But they'll wander in. It's a good class. We'll maybe mix some people with kids the same age.
Yeah, we're going to like community.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw with and kids play together.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely got a lot of kids. They just have one, which is kind of crazy because they have 6. We just grandparents
Oh, nice.
of triplet boys.
Oh my.
Got
Blessed.
some this week, yeah.
Yes. How old are they?
3 months.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So we spent a few days down there, and it's kind of like, you got this one diaper, bottle.
It's just like an assembly
fixed
line.
bottle. But it's fun.
All hands on deck for that.
Yeah,
it is.
definitely all the help that
Yeah.
they can get, for sure.
Where
do they live?
Adam's out of town. We're all gonna
Starkville,
be
Mississippi.
Okay, yeah.
She works at Mississippi State, and my son is
That link
computer
went out, and my
programmer.
mother-in-law called and said, you know what's been.
Well, that's helpful.
Nope,
Yeah.
didn't know that.
And he actually goes back to work for the first time Monday. So, but her mother and grandmother are nearby.
Good.
So
They have a village.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna need that
We're on
village.
call, so
Yeah.
this is a pretty easy 3-hour drive.
Oh, that's not too
Yeah, it's
bad.
not bad. It's easier than going to Nashville or Alabama, just 4-lane highway.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't
Don't have to worry about traffic as much, just those little speed traps.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah, that's
it.
right, that's right. Yeah, 'cause they're looking for
And I'm
you.
hoping Robert will come over and start a fire.
Y'all know other people here at Campbell?
I knew that Emily Burleson,
Yeah.
Emily, and our moms were really good friends, and Emily Kate actually got her name from my mother.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
But, yeah, and then, Nathan and Nancy Nicholas.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I met them across the.
Okay. So did you go to Milan High School?
No, actually, across the.
Oh, okay.
My mom works in Alamo, so I just went with her. But I lived in.
I'm gonna speak into trees.
Maybe to do that
We
again.
have a few people from,
They really
Kayla works at Gadsden, doesn't she?
Like I said,
Gadsden Elementary.
it's the only time.
Carly.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I
Yeah, my friend's wife works there.
Like when people do that, I'm
Yeah.
always
Oh, yeah, Rachel did for a while.
Zoe, special education.
And
Yeah.
then Suzanne Chapman, I know her.
Oh, yeah, I know her.
And Ross Williams, yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, her kids are actually the ones who gave me the nickname Say Say.
Oh, yeah?
The kids call me. And so her kids were the ones who gave me that name, Kinsley, who is now a freshman in high school.
That's great.
Yes,
You know Nathan Lewis?
I do.
Nathan grew up here at Campbell Street. I was the youth minister.
Oh,
I was his youth minister. But now I'm preaching and just other ministries.
yeah, he's a good, he's a good, he gives.
Yeah, he's teaching a class downstairs.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, we wanted to try to find, like a Bible class for right now.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, if you want a good lesson, Nathan's always.
Or you can see, where we've kind of been. We've talked about the morning routine. And what I like about this book, I probably wouldn't agree with everything that he says, but he's it's just really simple stuff. It's not like we're not trying to add more things to your to-do list, but just take the times that you already have, waking up, bedtime, mealtime, driving in the car together, and be strategic with those times.
Oh, yeah.
So that it kind of becomes a new normal, that it's like it's normal to talk about God. So that's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah, so we're on, you're on
We're
board.
kind of jumping around because the video series doesn't match the book in terms of that's going to be next week.
Okay.
But this week, we started last week talking about screen time. And we're going to show the video about that then we're going to go to discipline.
Okay, so like it's discussion 1 week and then video.
Yeah. So this video is going to take up most of the class.
Okay.
But the rest of the time, it's really good to talk about it because we hear like different people have different perspectives and their kids are different ages. So that's kind of fun too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of in a weird way, it's kind of fun to know when other people are struggling or not. They don't have it all together.
Right.
They don't have it all perfect. Because it's kind of an adventure.
Yeah, we're in the potty training stage
Oh, yeah.
with Lola right now, so it's getting better. But
Yeah.
sometimes we're just like, did it just to go out the window? Like,
Yeah.
And then Liam's in the reading.
yeah, and then Liam is learning to read.
Okay.
So we're full of the soft words and
Yeah.
all of that fun stuff, and we're trying to read once he's done for the day. That's
Yeah.
And honestly.
And where do they go to school?
Bell's Elementary.
Okay.
Yeah,
She goes last.
Yeah, she goes. The 3-year-old goes to daycare.
Yeah.
anything over 12 hours, I think I would probably.
I lived in Bells for 3 years. I think.
Okay.
Moved back to Jackson.
Okay.
So and they didn't want to disrupt the kids, which I don't blame them. Bell's is a really good school with a good kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
That daycare, at least.
Yeah, the daycare is really good stuff. The bus is right. The daycare is right beside the school, so we only have to drop them off once, and then the bus takes the kid to school, and it's like the next stop. So he just hops on and literally hops off.
Okay.
So it's easy because he has to be at work at 7:30. He works at Dana. He works at county for Dana. He's like the assistant controller, and then I teach at Madison.
Anybody else?
I love it.
Nathan's at the early college high.
Mhm. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, both schools are
Yeah.
they are. I've been teaching 15 years, and I started at Northside, then did a couple other schools in Jackson, then went to Crockett, then the opportunity at Madison, and I love it.
Yeah.
I can teach.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's been
There was a kid in our youth group, Madison, that made like a 36 on that.
Yeah, we have kids that make 36 hours. We usually have about
Because I have 5 kids and
No,
nobody.
we usually have 32 adults.
It's all good to see. What it is, they're not big.
Yeah, and every driveway.
Yeah.
Some folks, mercy.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to say what I made.
Oh, yeah, I don't ever tell them what I made.
I say, I think it was different back then. Scoring. Oh, tell me your names one more time. I gotta get it.
Eric, Sarah.
Eric and Sarah. Good job.
Nice to meet you.
You ready? As we've done most weeks, let's start our class by reading together Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6. And let's read. Yeah. Yeah. It takes me a while to get to it, okay? I'm acting like I'm giving you time to find it, but I'm actually giving myself time to find it. I should have. I should. Good. Deuteronomy 6. Let's read 4 through 9. All right. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, and when you walk along the road, and when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them on symbols on your hands, and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and gates, and on your gates. Struggling this morning. All right, so before we show the video, I want to show the video about screen time. We talked about that last week. Like, this is probably one of the most important and most relevant subjects that we've been talking about. If you're not facing it yet, you're going to be facing it. But before we do that, just real quick, since we have visitors, everybody just go around real quick, your name, who you are, and your kids. Introduce yourself. Let's go this way.
Jackson Kayla Klaus, we have a 5-year-old girl, 4-year-old.
Got Brown, my wife's Conley, got our baby, year and a half.
Nathan and Callan Thomas. We have a named Reese and a year-old named
Sarah and Eric Price, and we have a 5-year-old named Liam and a 3-year-old named Marla.
I'm Erin, and my husband is Jay, and we have 4 kids: Ellie, who's 8, Nate, who's 6, Miriam, who's 4, and Bo, who's 2.
Well done.
Haley Myers, I have Caroline. 10.
And Kate Branch, you have 11, 9, and 7. That's Devlin. Sorry, Devlin.
Starters.
Lindsay Bradford, husband is Adam. Have 5, just work. Taylor, Carter, Andy, Oakley, and Nash.
Ryan and Abby. We have 6 boys, 14, 6, Brooke, Wyatt, Shep.
2 of them can't sit on the same row together. It's not enough. Same, Laura.
Danny and Tammy, and our kids are grandbaby boys, not 3 months. Not that we're proud of.
Daniel,
Elijah, and Micah.
Micah, and Elijah are twins. Daniel. Except one has 6.
One has an extra toe. Until they take that one off, then we're in trouble. Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna work out for you.
Yeah.
All right, screen time. This is one of the longer videos, but I think it's really good. And if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about it at the end, but probably take out most class. So hopefully it'll work. Didn't work last time. If you're comfortable, feel free to move so you don't have to twist your neck around. There we go. We've got the top one.
A couple of years ago, I walk in this doorway somewhere around 6 o'clock. My littlest son, Shepherd, was standing right here in the hallway, toddling towards me. He was about 18 months old at the time, and I am just about to bend down to pick him up, but before I could, all three of his older brothers raced past him and hugged me first.
I think I've got
But this would be great to learn too.
And I'm
why do I struggle so much? Now, and then I have to search it, find it. I might not have it. Okay, fine. Got you back. Y'all need to be the ones doing
Here's something you may not know. When I was a new lawyer, I had a complete mental breakdown that made me seriously rethink how technology was affected. I was in law school at the time, and my life was full of devices. I was always tethered to my rings and dings and beeps and alerts, and I was always adding more to my calendar. Paying attention to the screen was how I paid attention to life, or so I thought. Around that time, I had my first two children, and likewise, screens were a convenient babysitter. In short, screen time was any time, for me and for my children. And I didn't think that was a problem. But a year into my lawyering career, I totally collapsed in an anxiety meltdown. I realized that even though I had all my thinking right in my head, my heart had become converted to the anxiety and busyness of my habits and routines, a lot of which revolved around screens. After that, I had to completely rethink my daily habits, primarily my technology habits of screen time. What I found changed my life, and it has completely changed the life of our family. In this session, I want to share with you why screen time rhythms are so important, and also give you some principles and practices to live by in your house. But as I do, remember, the person talking to you about healthy habits of screens is the same person who used them so poorly he had an anxiety breakdown. So all of this comes from a place of grace, not comparison, not judgment. In fact, if we're honest, no one is really happy about their family screen time. But remember, the good news of the grace of Jesus means that you are not stuck with the habits you have today. And that means we can approach difficult topics like screen time with humility about what we're not doing right and hope that we can actually change them. In this session, we'll first talk about why exactly screen time is so foundational. Second, we'll discuss a new paradigm for approaching screen time decision. And third, I'm going to give you some principles and practices to use in your house, you and your children. First, let's talk about formation. Remember the mental breakdown I mentioned? That's when I learned that if you don't form your screen time rhythms, then your screen time rhythms will form you. See, the fight over screens is the fight for formation. Think about it. So many of our other habits, how we relate, how we rest, how we read, how we pray, they all follow how we use screens. So screen time doesn't just change our time, it changes our lives. For example, if we don't teach our kids about sex, screens will be happy to do that for us. If we don't teach them categories of good and evil, then screens will be happy to obscure all of those. If we don't teach them that God made them who they are on purpose, man or woman, black or white, then screens will be happy to confuse their understanding of those things. If we don't teach them that buying things will not make them happy and that consumption always leaves you hungrier, then screens will teach them that being a consumer is the way to status and satisfaction. If we don't teach them that the world of nature is ferocious and fantastic, something to be stewarded and stunned, then the world of screens will teach them that looking at pictures of nature is just. And if we don't teach them that silence is a sacred place where God speaks to us, screens will make sure they never discover. If we don't teach them that vulnerable and embodied friendship is the heart of the good life, then screens will relentlessly nudge them towards connecting, liking their way to endemic. So yes, the stakes of formation are high. But don't fear. That is why you, parent, are here. You are here to educate, form, and disciple your child. And if you're going to do this around screens, you need a plan. So let's talk about a paradigm for thinking about screen time decisions. I call this paradigm curation. Curation means you set limits and then choose carefully within those limits. Think about an art gallery. You have limited wall space, so you choose the art purpose. You can see this in your home too. You have limited bookshelf space, so you pick the books that are important to you. Or you have limited wall space, so you pick your favorite pictures. But the commonality here is limits. Limits are actually what allow us to choose on purpose. And when it comes to screen time, that's exactly what we need. Healthy limits so we can choose carefully. Now, every family is going to have different limits, and it's going to choose different content within that. So rather than tell you what your limit should be and what you should pick, instead, let me give you 3 guiding principles for doing that yourself. And in each principle, I'm going to give you some example rhythms of how you can turn that principle into practice. Principle number 1, rhythms over rules. Remember, technology So as we think about stewarding technology well, think in rhythms. Rules are the things that you have to keep, otherwise you're wrong and you have to feel guilty. But rhythms are flexible patterns that you generally just keep falling back into. What would it look like to start to put healthy screen time rhythms in place for your family? Here are some examples that we use in art. First, establish your rhythms of on time. Rhythms of on time will help you pick screen times to engage with your screens on purpose. As an example, we use Friday night movie night as one of our key family screen time rhythms. That means we have a time in the week to say yes to movies. But if the kids ask on a regular Tuesday night whether they can watch a movie or a show, the answer isn't no. The answer is it Friday? Good rhythms always function as ways to say yes in the right times and simply to limit the other times. Establishing good on-time rhythms also gives you an excuse to discuss these with your spouse or family, which is always a valuable conversation. Now, you'll have to develop these for your own house, but here's some more examples. Watching a Sunday afternoon movie with their cousins during our extended family lunch gives the kids a great screen time to look forward to during the week. One weekday afternoon a week, after their homework is done, is also a time they get to look forward to playing video games during the week. Long car trips or evenings with babysitters, these are also great out of the ordinary times when movies or other screen times are really. Now, I could go on. Our family practices a lot of these rhythms. And you can get the sense, I hope, that we're no Luddites. I don't think screens are something evil to be run from, but rather something powerful to be stewarded carefully. At the same time, screen time is not all the time, and the rhythms for on time imply that the rest of our time is not. It's off time, which is super important because that makes the default of our time together away from screens. Most of our time together, we're trying to cultivate a life around each other, around eye contact, body language, around conversation, sports, and the outdoors. So help your kids get used to the fact that there are lots of spaces, even most spaces in life, where screens just either aren't appropriate or aren't a good idea. To do that, you can have rhythms of off time. Here's some examples of this. Outside. We need to learn to engage and be awed by the outdoors. So when we're at a park or on a hike, we don't scroll, we play. Typical evenings. This is the reminder that usually we're reading or entertaining ourselves with games or conversation or music. For us, audiobooks during evening times are actually fine as long as it's listening to a good book and not just scrolling through mindless entertainment on the screen. Take the dinner table. This is a place where we talk, and no one, not even adults, are allowed to bring screens to the table. Another example for off time is when our kids are over with other kids to play. We encourage our kids not to waste social time on screen time. So unless it's a group movie or a special occasion, we be sure that when kids are over our house to play, they actually work the good play. Finally, short car rides are an off time for us. That's where we simply decide to either talk or listen to music together, but not to all be on our individual screens. Now, your off times may look entirely different than ours or other families, but the value here is not in all having the exact same rhythms. It's in having the same value of picking some intentional rhythms. So those are some example rhythms for on and off times. But remember, one of the reasons rhythms are better than rules is that grace is better than legalism. There are always exceptions to rhythms, and that is fine. Further, your family and your kids, they are always changing ages and stages. Even more, you and other families are going to choose rhythms a little differently. So our great hope is not to do it all, but rather to raise children who we can send out of the house as men and women know how to choose well when it comes to screens. Can you imagine what a gift that would be? But grace means that exceptions, adjustments, mistakes, and realignments, those can all be a part of that goal. Remember, Jesus is gracious to you, so be gracious with yourself and with your. Some habits that might help you be gracious with this are regrouping rhythms. For example, consider having a parenting check-in every few months where you talk about how your screen time rhythms are going with your spouse. Consider doing an annual audit where you talk at the end of the year how the family is engaging with devices and make better goals for the next year. Remember, just because you allowed something in the past does not mean you're stuck with it forever. Jesus' grace means that you can and you should change. Okay, so now, hopefully, you're choosing some good rhythms and being gracious with yourself and revising those rhythms. But what about choosing how to use those on times well? That brings us to principle number 2. Medium over message. By this, I want to convince you to stay focused on choosing what you watch carefully, but pay even more attention to how you watch or how you use your devices. In other words, the way we watch can be as impactful, if not more, than what we watch. For example, some families might say that you can use that device all day long as it's appropriate content. But I want to note that letting your preteen browse age-appropriate social media feeds all day will actually wreck their mental health and deform them spiritually. Where on the other hand, watching an R-rated movie together and talking about those themes with them could be incredibly helpful. Of course, you still need to help protect your children from harmful, explicit content. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I often see parents too concerned about appropriateness and not concerned at all about how the constant presence of devices are forming for children. So think about this. Your job as a parent is not to protect your kids from the world, but rather to help them become formed in the image of Christ so that they are strong enough to go out and live well. This means teaching them how and when to use devices and keeping dangerous devices out of their hand before they're old enough to make the decisions. To put this principle into practice, I recommend 2 rhythms. First, rhythms of discussion. Screen time technology is constantly changing, and kids are influenced by each other. So you need to be talking to your spouse and to other parents in your community about how your kids are using the devices. It is hard to live in our technological, but having other families who are willing to live counterculturally alongside you can be incredibly helpful. So practice rhythms of discussion with those families. If you want to make it easy, blame it on me. Say, I read this book about habits of the household, and there were some interesting thoughts on screen time. Our families are intertwined, and it made me think that we should try to be on the same page with this. Any chance you want to read and discuss? I guarantee you'll have a good conversation. Second, I also recommend rhythms of patience here. The more information and data we have, the more clear it is that the longer you wait to give your child a smartphone, the better. The mental health outcomes and the spiritual deformation that happens when kids get tethered to devices before their brains have fully developed is truly awful. So be patient. Know that you are serving your children by teaching them to. Waiting until they're out of the house is probably too long because they need to learn how to use devices under your instruction. But middle school is probably far too early. So think closer to early or mid-high school when they're beginning to take on other major responsibilities like driving, part-time. Now there's no this, but rhythms of patience will help. And you, parent, have to do the hard work of establishing those rhythms. So pay attention to mediums of technology, how you're using your devices. What about the second half of this principle? The message is still important. So how do you pick what to watch? I want to encourage you to choose great stories that help build a big Christian imagination. This is the idea that there is way more to run to than there is to run from. It means a little less energy on worrying about what's inappropriate and a lot more energy on picking movies that have great heroes, great themes, or stories and shows that expand our imagination and teach us. This really doesn't necessarily mean Christian content so much as it just means choosing any content well. My rhythm for this is an encouragement to keep good lists. I love how my wife does it. She has endless lists of great books, good movies, worthwhile TV series, fun audiobooks, and so we spend very little time saying, no, that's not appropriate to our kids, and a lot more time saying, oh, have you started this series yet? At the end of the day, we don't want kids who don't know about the world God made. We want kids who understand it so well that they can see God everywhere. Because our job is not to protect our children and keep them in here. Our job is to raise them and send them out there. This means a little less sheltering and a lot more cultivating. I hope it goes without saying in these last 2 points that reading is one of the greatest gifts you can give your child. Books and great stories are tried and true mediums for the imagination and the world. And they cultivate attention, concentration, and reflection. So before we move on to our last principle, remember, nothing will change your family's rhythms of screen time more than teaching the habit. Finally, principle number 3, communal over individual. One of the greatest things you can do as a family is to put screens in communal places. Having a smartphone in your bed is not going to do any favors for you or your teens. Having a computer with open internet in a closed upstairs room is probably more dangerous than running into the street with a live dog. But watching movies together, that's family time. So spend time with your kids watching what they watch and talking to them as much as possible. One rhythm to think about here is regularly going through your house and thinking about the spaces. Do we need a TV in this room? What about a charging box next to the front door so that people are encouraged to put their phones away when they enter the house? What about days you turn your Wi-Fi off? What about moving computers out of their homes? Another set of rhythms to consider here are rhythms of transparency. For example, get in the regular, at least monthly habit of checking all your devices to make sure the parental controls are set properly and regularly checking internet and chat histories. When you get your children devices, make sure they understand that when they're living in your house, you have the responsibility to monitor those devices and look at what's on them. And they should expect that. Because knowing that their devices are under your authority will help them live more honorably under God's authority. If you look at the world of advertising around devices, it's all about privacy. Because marketers know that something in us wants to be free to be alone with our devices and do whatever. But biblical freedom is much different. Biblical freedom is not the ability to do whatever. It's the strength and character to choose the good in any given moment. That is freedom. And we're not free to do that just because we're alone. We're free to act like that when the Spirit is alive and in us. And that's often through community and transparency. So now you have a few principles and a lot of habits for screen time. But let's be clear. I am not under the illusion that any of this is easy. This is all actually real. Almost everything that is important in life is hard. And screen time information. So let me leave you with a final thought. A parent's sacrifice is better than a child's. Of course our kids complain about wanting more devices and more time on them. And yes, we have to say no a lot and do the hard work of setting rules. Let me encourage you. That's your role as a parent. The good news of the gospel is that Jesus took the pain so that we could have the good. And our role as parents is to do hard things and take the pain so our kids can. Nowhere is this more important than in screen time. There are so many formational and mental health stakes, but it is possible to change your rhythms. Grace means it's possible to have new habits, and the gospel means it's possible for you to do the hard work so that your kids can have wholeness. So go do that. Not out of fear or legalism, but out of love for your kids and love for the God who made them. Remember, your screen time habits don't change God's love, but God's love for you should change your screen time.
So quick thoughts. Take away. That's some pretty good stuff.
I'll be asking questions all the time.
Yeah. I would not watch an R-rated movie. Yeah. But I think his principles are good.
I'm really passionate about stories. I like to share good stories with my kids, and so sharing stories. I think like with obviously and then like they encounter certain things in life, and like maybe if like remember when like these characters went through this thing that done on TV or movies, like maybe don't reference for every little thing, but if they experience characters they love going through certain things with a friend or something,
A lot of good things there about reading to your kids, about going outside and playing, not having your phone at the table. Some of this is pretty hard for us too, isn't it? Like it's probably going to be some bit of a sacrifice for us because we like that. Our screens as well. What did he say there at the end? The parents' sacrifice is always greater than their pain. I know that's where our hearts are. The idea of raising kids, love God with all their heart, love their neighbor as themselves, and are in the world, but they're not of faith because they're rooted in who they are and their identity. If you haven't read the chapter, do that. In the workbook, there's a code that you can watch all of these videos. We can come back and talk about this a little bit more next week. Why don't we go ahead and read the next chapter in the book? I think for us is a chapter on discipline. Again, the book and the workbook and the videos don't necessarily line up, but I think it's chapter 3 of the book about discipline. It's the video we almost watched. But we can talk more about screen time if you want to. I think the study guide has a good summary of video as well. If you want to kind of remind yourself of some of those principles, some of those ideas. And I like what he said. It's like there's not a one size fits all. Kids are at different stages, and the idea of grace, because you're gonna learn and you're gonna want to adapt, and not everybody's gonna be in the same situation. And I do think it is good, especially if your friends, your kids' friends, their parents can be on the same page as you, or at least have that discussion. That could be really good. Y'all need to get everybody in Charleston Square and have like a homeowners association. You and your sister definitely need to have that discussion as much as your families are intertwined. Sure. Yeah, that is good. All right. Any other thoughts? Thank you for being here. Hope you have a great week. Hope we see you again Wednesday for the gathering.
I got in my shower and dressed. Both sets of keys.
Yeah.
I almost texted Danny to say,
Sarah.
this is where we are. I'm not worried about where you are. I
did. Yeah, I heard you say Crockett and then Jackson. So what do you do?
So I taught at the high school. Okay. And then I just moved over to Madison 2 years ago. Yeah. But you probably know Suzanne Chapman. So her kids,
You probably were ready to go back in.
You need credit for that.
So I lived in my whole life, and then he grew up in Jackson.
Yes, you did, yeah.
So do y'all live in Jackson now?
Yes, we got married a month ago, and we.
Good. Well, I love Madison, but I also love Crockett and
Yeah.
now the Jackson Christian. So
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Oh, okay.
John Robert.
John Robert, yeah. Oh, John
Elementary
Robert.
with me. He's the funny one.
He's a mess.
He
He's a
is.
mess. He has grown so much. I don't see him as much as I used to, but because Suzanne and I aren't as close as we were. But yeah,
She'll know something.
Yeah,
she'll know.
they're growing.
Well, it's very nice to meet
Nice
you.
to
I'm
meet
glad
you
y'all are
too.
here.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
And I'm Tammy Danny Swan. Yeah.
I know you are on cloud nine with those great things. I bet. That was precious. So.
Pretty fun. Pretty fun.
The